This week I want to talk about a phrase we often hear in art. I want to paint like a child again. But what does that actually mean? Because it has nothing to do with age. And it has nothing to do with painting badly or simply. It has to do with something else. I think in our society we often confuse age with awareness. When we talk about a child in art, we don't usually mean a young person. We mean a state of being. A very young child, before it is heavily influenced by opinion, education, and the comparison, still moves and acts mostly from direct experience, not from mental concept about itself. And this is a very important difference. There's also a big stylistic misunderstanding. Many people think painting like a child means simple lines, simple shapes, unsophisticated images. But that is only the visual result. It is not the essence. Because you can paint very simply and still be completely trapped in thinking of doubt, full of comparison and full of self-judgment. So the question is not, does it look like a child made it? The real question is, from where was it made? And from what state of mind? From what state of attention? From what state of awareness was the work made? When Picasso said, "It took me a lifetime to learn to paint like a child," he did not mean he had to learn how to draw simple lines again. He already knew how to do that. What he meant was that he had to unlearn everything that was in the way. The noise, the expectations, the idea of what art should be, the identity that was placed upon him growing up, the identity of being a good artist. He had to return to a state where he could see again. Not draw, but see. A child spends a lot of time in what we could call pure attention. Looking, touching, listening, moving. Without constantly thinking, is this good? What do others think? Is this successful? Is this art? They draw without asking if it's good. They draw without asking what others will think. They draw without comparing themselves. They are not trying to be artists. They are not trying to be good. They are just exploring. In adults, there is often a constant story in the mind, a constant evaluation, a constant self-judgment. When you are working in the studio, did you notice where your attention is most of the time? Is it on the work? Or is it on what you think about the work and what it says about you? What happens when we grow up, and especially when we go to art school, when we are trained into a system, is that we slowly become afraid. And fear is what the mind uses to make up a story to feel like you're in control. The mind uses fear to control a situation, and the situation is that life is uncertain. Life is by nature uncertain. And when we assume uncertainty is danger, the mind will use the identity story to control life's uncertainty. So the fear comes up as fear to make bad work, fear to make something simple, fear that is not intelligent enough, fear that is not original enough, fear that is not good enough, fear that you don't know what you're doing. And so the identity story, based in fear, is used to compensate for uncertainty. And slowly an identity is formed that seems real, but is actually only constructed to avoid uncertainty. And from this fear, slowly the play is removed from the work. And this story creates tension. and tension blocks the natural movement of the work. It intervenes with the natural interest and intuition. So painting like a child again does not mean changing your style. It means learning to notice the difference between the story in your mind and the direct experience of painting or working. The feeling of the brush, the color, the smell of the paint, the movement of your arms and muscles, the space in front of you and around you. When your attention is fully with the experience and not with the story about yourself, about who you are and what that means, then there's freedom again. And from that freedom that feels spacious, the work becomes alive again. So painting like a child again can simply mean not to become younger, but to become quieter. Quieter inside, quieter in the mind, more attentive to what's in front of you, less concerned with what the work says about you, and more interested in what the work is while you are making it. I want to leave this here for today. And next week, I want to talk about the relationship between presence and quality in art. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.